What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here for PackersNews.com. I'm here with Justis Mosqueda, who does tons of draft work all over the internet. You can find him at Bleacher Report, and you can find him at the Cheesehead TV Draft Guide, dropping soon in a few weeks. Justis, looking at this Packers defense, clearly in a transition period, how are they going to get after the quarterback next year? I mean, you got to think they're looking at the draft. Let's say they decide they're sitting there on the clock at 14 in late April's draft. Who are they looking at who can possibly help them get after the quarterback?
Yeah, so I think the main guy in this draft class is Bradley Chubb, who everyone knew. He went back to school after last season. People thought that he was going to come out, and then he almost instantly became like the pass rusher of this draft class. I think after that, he's probably going to be gone by the time 14 comes around. Harold Landry's a guy who's interesting. The kid out of Boston College. He battled through an ankle injury, but his tape from last year and when he was healthy this year is better than anyone's tape in this class as far as pass rushers go. He's very similar to like Jerry Hughes, I would say. So I think he would be an option at 14. He would be an obvious upgrade. But then after that, it's kind of interesting because I think people wanted to anoint Marcus Davenport, the guy from UTSA, as like a top 10 pick. And then he didn't really show up at the Senior Bowl. And then he didn't have a great combine. So I think people might have just been looking for an edge rusher to put in the top 10 when there really wasn't one. And then guys just really didn't step up this year. I mean, Landry was known, Chubb was known coming into this year. Those were the two big seniors who went back to school. But even guys like Arden Key, he didn't do great. He ballooned up to 280 pounds and then dropped down to the 230s by the time the combine came around. He missed like a good section of spring practice for LSU. A lot of people thought that he was going to be a guy who stepped up to the plate and became, one of those top 10 pass rushers, but he wasn't really there. So really at 14, if it's not Harold Landry, because Bradley Chubb, I'm assuming is going to be gone. He might be, the number 4 pick in this draft. If it's not Harold Landry, I really don't know how many guys would be massive upgrades ahead of guys like Reggie Gilbert when we saw him on the field and Vince Beagle when we saw him on the field. I don't think the Packers' pass rushing issues is necessarily that they didn't have the talent on the roster. It's that they weren't playing the young talent on the roster over the guys.
Well, I was going to ask you about that. I know you were high on Vince Beagle last year. Obviously, a bit of a washout his rookie season due to injury. What did you see in his game at Wisconsin that made you feel pretty confident about his ability at the NFL level?
Yeah, he's just really fluid. He knows how to counter inside. So if you have a good enough first step to make an offensive tackle flare out, and you can hit with the inside move that basically you cross his face because he's oversetting so hard. That's a pretty easy way to win in the NFL. That thing usually translates pretty well because you're a pretty balanced player. He also plays with his hands above his eyes pretty well, which means that he's basically bending at all the right spots in his ankles, hips, knees, and just winning that leverage battle. So those are two things that I thought would translate really well into the NFL. The problem is he only played like 100 snaps or something like that. So it's kind of hard to tell who he is at this point. But I think when he and Gilbert were on the field, I was really excited about what they do. I would say that, in the mid rounds, probably something like that, they could probably add some depth just because they're going through a coaching change and he's not really familiar with those guys. So I think guys like, I don't know, like a Hercules Mataafa from Washington State would be an interesting guy.
The draft community loves that kid. I mean, I don't know very much. Everyone I talk to who does this for a living, they love that kid.
He's basically like Solomon Thomas was last year, but like even smaller somehow. Like shaved 20 pounds off of Solomon Thomas, and that's basically who Hercules Mataafa was playing was for the Cougars. Yeah, he was playing like 3 technique at like 250 pounds, and was just he got something like 20 plus tackles for a loss somehow. Yeah, I don't know. Pac-12 football is weird, man.
There you go. All the latest on possible solutions for the Packers and their pass rush. Make sure you follow all of Justis's stuff, both the Bleacher Report, Cheesehead TV, and everywhere else. Justis, thank you so much for the time, man.
Anytime.